Approval of the treasurer's report for July 2015. Ron?
Yes, in your backup material was the traditional treasurer's report that shows fund balances, revenues, and expenditures for all of the funds. In addition, at your places this evening was a hard copy of a modified version of that treasurer's report that's basically in its draft stage right now as we look for different ways to communicate information. That treasurer's report, as you know, was emailed to you earlier this week. And basically what we're trying to do, and the reason we're referring to it as being in draft stage, is we're looking for input from all of you in terms of what additions or deletions or clarifications you might like to see in that report. But what we have done is by fund, using the funds that have regular transactions. So life safety and scholarship and working cash are not included on this version. What we've done is provide a 3-year snapshot so you could see the monthly summaries for the fund from July 13, July 14, July 15. But in addition to those summaries and the comparison, what we have also done is broken down the key revenues and the key expenditures in each of the funds where appropriate. And the reason I say where appropriate is in the bond and interest fund, for example, we know exactly where all of the expenditures are. Similarly, in the Tort Immunity Fund, we know that the only real revenue at that point is from property tax distributions. So in each of those areas, and I will not take the time this evening to read everything that's printed there, but what we've done is we've given you basically the equivalent of about 93 to 94% of the expenditures and revenues in each area. Just to highlight some things for the benefit of all here, in the Ed Fund for July, our bulk of our revenues came from property tax distributions and some mandated categoricals that we received from the state of Illinois. Expenditures in the education fund, about 77% of the expenditures are salary benefit related. We also have, and this is something you'll only see in July, we've got the summer school salary expenditures in there. With the equipment lease expenses, because of the size of that number, we felt it good to show it to you. And then the District 843 payments for our obligation to the Special Education Cooperative. And as a reminder, because of the cash flow situation with the Special Education Cooperative, our bills, as are the bills for all of the member districts, are front-loaded. 30% of the expenditures are, 30% of the expenses and the revenues for 843 are on the July bill, 20% will be in the August bill, and then 10% for each of the next 5 months to fund our Special Education Cooperative. In the building fund, approximately 41% of the expenditures in July were on utilities, with about 28% on salary and benefits in that area. Transportation is the one fund where you'll see a lot of flexibility as we move from month to month. For July, 43% of the expenditures were salary and benefits as we completed our salary payments for the 14-15 school year, and about 13% of the expenditures were fuel related. Overall, for revenues, and again, the complete summary is in your backup material, but basically we had property tax distributions of roughly $750,000. We had mandated categorical payments across the funds of just a shade over $1 million. And we had some student fees. Now those student fees are for both summer school and registration fees for the 15-16 school year of approximately $130,000. Those were the major components of the $2.1 million in revenues for the combined funds. And again, at the very end of the document that was at your places this evening, we take for the funds that were on this sheet and break down the revenues and expenditures again, just for a comparison across the 3 years. That concludes my report.
So Ron, I have a couple of questions here. First of all, thank you for putting together this more expanded report, especially you're the board. It helps me see things on a year-to-year basis. The first question I have is in the ed fund, Ron. So this year versus last year, revenues are up a little bit and expenses are down a little bit. Do you expect that to continue during the course of this year, year over year, as we keep looking at it month over month?
I believe the revenues will stay pretty consistent. When we compare 15 to 14 on a month-by-month basis, because our cash flows in are pretty consistent. The only thing that is somewhat debatable as to when they're going to occur are the mandated categoricals. I mean, the fact that we received some in July, we normally don't receive them in July, but yet they did appear this year. So those will play a little bit of havoc on that. But otherwise, I think you'll see revenues stay pretty consistent from a comparison between 14 and 15. The expenditures, our goal and our hope is that each month we'll see something very similar to what we saw in July, with expenditures running slightly below the expenditures from the previous year.
Okay, and my second question then, on the two other funds, the building fund and the transportation fund. That one, when you look at the 3 years, year to year, building fund revenues stay pretty much the same. Expenses seem to bounce around from one year to the next. And the transportation fund revenues seem to bounce around as well. You said the transportation fund is the one that's the most flexible. Expenses, though, are way down at this point versus where they were in July of 2014. Should we at all be concerned about the fact that some of these numbers don't line up exactly from one year to the next year? Is this, again, one of those things where payments come in at different times and revenues come in at different times?
Actually, with the transportation fund, the reason that you see a significant difference in expenditures is we work with the company that we lease our buses from to get the payments out of July and into August. So what will happen is when you get this a month from now, the August transportation expenditures for 15 will be higher than they were in 14 because the lease payments will have been made in August instead of September.
Okay.
But when you look at the sum of the 2 months, they should be pretty close.
Okay. All right, again, thank you. Like with anything, I'm sure we'll all have some more comments and suggestions as we go forth on this, but I really appreciate the expanded report.